January 9th, 2022. A nation disappears from the internet. No warning, no explanation. Government websites vanish, servers collapse. For hours, North Korea, the most secretive country on Earth, goes dark. Was it an act of war? A response to missile tests? A cyber strike by rival nations? Analysts scrambled for answers, but behind the blackout wasn't a government, not a military, just one man, alone at his desk. Newsrooms filled with theories. Forums lit up with chatter. Some whispered it was US Cyber Command sending a message. Others suspected South Korea, Japan, even China. The timing was too suspicious. Pyongyang had just tested missiles. Surely this was punishment. But the truth was quieter, stranger, and far more personal. The blackout was revenge. A private vendetta disguised as a cyber war. Online, he called himself P4X. Offline, he was just another cybersecurity researcher in the United States. But in the shadows of cyberspace, he was about to do something no lone individual had done before. Take down an entire nation's connection to the outside world. And it all began a year earlier, with an email, a file, and an attempt on his digital life. January 2021. P4X receives a file, a supposed research tool. He runs it in a virtual machine, cautious. Hours later, Google drops a bombshell. North Korean hackers are targeting Western researchers with booby-trapped files. He checks the code. Hidden inside, a backdoor, a secret doorway for spies. North Korea's hackers had tried to break into his system. He had narrowly dodged disaster, but he wasn't alone. Dozens of researchers were targeted. Pyongyang was hunting the hunters. He expected retaliation. Surely the US government would respond. Surely an attack on its researchers, private citizens, would not go unanswered. But weeks passed, then months. A single FBI call, a formality. No investigation, no protection, no justice. It was as if no one cared. That silence planted a seed. Abandoned by his government, targeted by a regime, P4X began to wonder, if no one else would push back, could he? To understand the scale of what he was about to do, you have to understand North Korea's internet, or what passes for one. Most of its citizens never touch the real web. Instead, they use a closed intranet called Kwangyong. Think of it as a sandbox. News, state encyclopedias, propaganda, all sealed off, all controlled. The global internet? That privilege belongs only to the elite. Government agencies, propaganda outlets, a few select institutions. And it is tiny, just over 1,000 public IP addresses. For comparison, the United States has more than 1 billion. North Korea's internet is not a fortress. It's a paper wall. Modern networks are built for resilience. Fail one server, others pick up the load. North Korea's system, it's a house of cards. A handful of servers. Outdated software. Minimal defenses. A denial of service, overwhelming them with traffic, could bring the whole thing down. Just an idea, a way to blow off steam. But the more he thought, the more it made sense. The breach he survived was state-sponsored. He had been targeted by a regime with nuclear weapons, one of the most repressive governments on Earth, and no one had lifted a finger. So P4X asked himself the forbidden question. If I can strike back, should I? In hacking, the first step isn't the strike, it's reconnaissance, mapping the terrain. He dug into every scrap of information on North Korea's network, IP ranges, server software, vulnerabilities. What he found confirmed his suspicions. Old Apache servers, outdated versions of Nginx, firewalls so basic they might as well not exist. To a veteran hacker, it wasn't even breaking in. It was like walking a hallway where every door was left unlocked. P4X wasn't after secrets. He wasn't looking to steal. He was aiming for one thing: silence. To shut down a nation's fragile external web. For weeks he refined his scripts, tweaking attack vectors, automating floods of traffic. His arsenal was ready, his target mapped, his motive sharpened. Soon, he would test just how fragile a dictatorship's internet really was. January 9th, 2022. After months of planning, one man sat in front of a laptop, a cursor blinking. This was no military bunker, no secret agency, just a quiet home and a hacker in pajamas. The tools were ready, the servers primed. One keystroke, and the fragile network of a nation would face its reckoning. With a single click, the flood began. A tidal wave of traffic, overwhelming outdated servers. One by one, North Korea's outward-facing websites buckled. The news portal, offline. Government sites, dark. The fragile digital bridge between Pyongyang and the world collapsed under its own weight. Inside North Korea, life went on. Most citizens never touched the global web anyway. But for the regime, the blackout was catastrophic. Their propaganda mouthpieces were silenced, their email servers cut off, their connection to the outside world gone. A dictatorship obsessed with projecting strength had been humiliated by one man. From his side of the screen, P4X watched the collapse in real time. Graphs turned red. Servers dropped like dominoes. For him, it was surreal. For them, it was chaos. A personal vendetta had become a national blackout. Speculation exploded. Analysts assumed it had to be the work of a rival nation. South Korea, the United States, maybe China. After all, who else could cripple a country's internet? Surely not a single vigilante. But that was the truth. No agency, no army. Just one hacker in Miami, snacking on chips while he watched North Korea go dark. The outage wasn't just a one-night stunt. For days, he tweaked his attack. Each time technicians tried to restore the network, he hit them again. It became a game of cat and mouse, but the mouse was winning. And no one knew who to blame. For months, the world speculated. Who could have done it? And then, the hacker stepped out of the shadows. In a rare interview, P4X revealed himself, Alejandro Casares, a 38-year-old cybersecurity researcher. He explained the attack on him, the silence that followed, and why he decided to take justice into his own hands. But here lies the dilemma. Cyber-vigilantism feels satisfying until you ask the hard questions. Was it justice or a crime? International law doesn't bend for personal vendettas. The U.S. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act makes no exception for targeting hostile states. Worse, what if his attack collided with secret intelligence operations? What if others followed his lead? Less careful, less ethical. Still, P4X wasn't done. Emboldened by success, he launched the Funk Project, short for FU North Korea. A rallying cry to others, a vigilante cyber army. He invited fellow hackers to join him in exposing and disrupting the regime. One man had unplugged a nation. What might dozens do? Not everyone cheered. Experts warned his actions could interfere with classified missions. That North Korea might retaliate, that US law could still come knocking. Yet, as of today, he remains free, unpunished, his attack unanswered. In the end, he did not topple a regime. He did not free a people. He embarrassed a dictatorship. He exposed the fragility of the digital age. One man, one laptop, silencing a nuclear state. For some, it was a warning. For others, inspiration. For all, it was proof. The battlefield is everywhere. and sometimes it begins in pajamas. I'm Phylarx, and this was the story of one man's cyber war. A reminder that in the wired world, power doesn't always belong to nations. Sometimes it belongs to the individual and what they choose to do with it.